Alrighty, we're back. We're back. Well, actually, this is our first Five Friday feedback.
Yep. So we are back, but back to a new segment that I'm just so excited about.
Yeah.
We've been getting so many people tuning into the pod and asking super great questions that we decided, what would be better. I think one of the best ways to learn is through repetition.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And rather than sending people back to listen to the Monday podcast again, why not just summarize what we talked about in the Monday pod? Because repetition is the key to actually changing your habits. So we'll go over it again, and then we get to talk about the big thing for Five Friday feedback.
It's a big one.
Yeah,
It's a big one.
Yeah, actually going into the listener mailbags where
Yep.
people get to write into us and ask us some of their questions and actually have a real financial advisor kind of give some recommendations off of that for entertainment and information purposes.
Yeah,
only.
entertainment. Don't sue us.
Don't sue us.
Don't sue us.
Please.
Yes. Anyway. So what we're talking about is what we did last week, basically the big three, right?
Yeah, on Monday, so not last
On Monday.
week,
Yeah, on Monday. Sorry. Yeah, it was batch recordings. Anyway, so do you want to get right into it?
Yeah, let's get right into
Get
it.
right into it. So the big three, we're talking about food, we're talking about transportation, we're talking about housing, right? And we're also talking about that psychological $3 cup of coffee or $5, $6, $10 cup of coffee versus the big purchases.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to just briefly touch on that real quick?
Yeah, of course. So those big three purchases, your food, your transportation, your housing, I like to call those your fixed costs. Those are the things you can't really not spend money on.
You got to eat.
You got to eat.
You probably got to drive to work.
You got to get somewhere.
And you got to sleep somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the big three. So rather than focusing on, like you just mentioned there, the $5, the $6, the $10 cup of coffee, is it good to still focus on those things and try to eliminate them if you can? Sure, if you can, get rid of them.
Yeah.
But if they bring you joy, I'm never going to be the person to say get rid of your cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It's all about mindful spending there. But rather than spending mindlessly and going out every for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to go out to McDonald's wherever you go, why not try meal prepping and saving some money there? That's rather than focusing on the $5, we're focusing on the $60 question there with your food. For your transportation, it's a $200 question. For your housing, shoot, that's like the $1 million question as to what's going to be best for you.
Absolutely. And housing obviously being the biggest expense. Probably transportation second.
Yep, transportation is definitely second. Oh, I guess it depends on the person.
It depends on the person. Because I
depends
know
on the
some
person.
people, I'm not going to call out anybody's names or anything, but breakfast, lunch, and dinner plus Starbucks and a snack. That could be bigger than a car payment.
Yeah, on average, it is. Housing is the biggest, and then transportation is second, and then food is third. And unfortunately, for the average American household, we touched about this on Monday. That's 67% of their income is going to those three fixed costs. And there are more fixed costs that we didn't even touch upon. Yourself.
Netflix.
Yeah, well, I would say I don't.
It's probably not a fixed. Well, it's not important.
That's not a fixed cost.
No. It's
No, that'd be discretionary.
you
But
tell me to get rid of my Netflix. It's instilled in my life.
I'm saying like your utilities, your electricity bills.
Yep.
I would say cell phones. Your cell phone plan. That's probably going to be a necessity. Good luck surviving without a cell phone.
You gotta have a cell phone.
You gotta insurance. If you have to pay for your health insurance, that's a one. Car insurance, that's required by law. So those also go into fixed costs. But the big ones again are food, transportation, housing.
And just getting those down a little bit as much as you can. We talked about different ways to house hack. We talked about carpooling or different options for that, buying used cars, stuff like that, and food, like we said, like rather than going and eating out bulk, making your food in bulk and then just meal prepping, stuff like that. Making your food at home, it's fun to cook.
Yeah, I think food can really make a really big impact towards financial independence. Like you just touched upon there, rather than going out and dining out. Think about how much that costs you. Even when my wife and I would go, I don't eat at fast food very often, but just going to like In-N-Out or something like that, you think it's not that much, but at the end of the day, you end up walking away like $25.
Yeah.
In the hole. Or if you were just kind of plan your meal out, you could at home go to Costco, get everything in bulk, come home, plan your meals, and that also stops the decision fatigue.
Yeah.
And more importantly than that, I think you're focusing on your health as well because you're not eating out.
Absolutely. And I think what I love about Chris and about this podcast and everything, it's not just about money. It's also about like the psychology of money. And like you talked about decision fatigue, I would love to get more into that on the podcast. But, for $25, you can have one meal, or for $50 or $75, you could have meals for the week, and get rid of that decision fatigue, get rid of that, what am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to have for breakfast? Like now, and actually this segment from from Monday, food and all that major spending, I actually ties into my win of the week. So
Cool.
I'm really excited to get to the end of the podcast to tell you guys about that. Shout out to Chris for inspiring me to, not just, bulk make my desserts like I sometimes do, making a lot of cherry cobblers, but
We're changing lives. I'm changing lives.
you're changing lives, man. I'm telling you, I'm getting healthier. I'm back. We're back. Everything's good. So yeah, but getting back to what we were talking about, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, we totally do. Outside of food, so we talked a little bit about food and some of the ways to reduce your expenses there. After that, on Monday, but let's talk about it again. We talked about transportation and some ways to reduce transportation. So rather than buying the biggest, baddest, cool baller car that you can, what's the purpose of a car? It is to get you from point A to point B.
Yep.
Do you have to flex on everyone as you do that? If that's super important to you and you financially set yourself up for it, if you want to flex on people, go ahead and flex on people.
It's like we're not saying not to flex on them. Like, if you designed your financial path for the end game to be, I want to flex on the haters. I want to wear a Rolex. I want to drive a real fast car. That's fine. I mean, that's fine.
That's cool.
We're not against that. But you got to plan for it. It can't just be like, I want a Rolex today. It's like, do you have Rolex money? It's like, no, but I got a HELOC, so it's like, let's do that.
And that's what a lot of people end up doing is they end up putting themselves in debt again to impress people that don't really care about them. It kind of comes back to my Lamborghini example. When you see someone driving a Lamborghini, do you think to yourself, wow, that guy or gal is so cool for driving that Lamborghini? Or do you automatically think, wouldn't I be cool if I had that Lamborghini? You basically take the person who's driving the Lamborghini and you probably say, that person's probably an asshole. And then you put yourself inside that situation, but I would not be if I had that car.
Yeah.
So
I heard this quote the other day. It kind of ties in, but it goes, there's no greater waste of time than justifying your actions to people who have a life you don't care about.
Dude.
It's so good.
That's good.
That's real good. Shout out to Alex Hormozy. Big fan. But yeah, it's keeping up with the Joneses. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And we talked about that last time back in my old office, the guy who drove the Camaro, and you asking me in my office, is that your Camaro? Because all finance people drive Camaros. I'm like, no, I have my Toyota Tacoma. And you said like, oh, well, that's kind of a weird car for an advisor. And I'm like, well, it does the job for me. I love my car. Why would I need to spend more money? Because it's something that's important to me. I'd rather spend more money in my housing because I work from home. I live at home. I have my animals.
Or vacations,
I spend a lot of money on trips.
You do love your trips, and you've designed your life for it. And that's beautiful.
It's all about intention, right?
100 million percent. 100 million percent. Yeah, it's definitely about that. I like that.
But what are some ways that we can try to reduce our transportation costs that you're aware of?
I think my absolute favorite one is carpooling. I love the idea of just like not being stuck in that like 9 a.m. traffic, but like being there with like someone from work. It's like you get to chop it up. It's like, how was your week? Did you watch the game? It's like, let's talk about business. Let's talk about something. I love the idea of carpooling.
Yeah.
That's my favorite way. I know we have other ways like public transportation if you live where there's a subway system or buses or whatnot.
Yeah.
I know my mom used to do this bus system where it was just for their employees, like government employees, where she would drive to a location and the bus would, take them the rest of the way. It was like 45 minutes.
Oh, that's cool.
She loved it. She put her earbuds in, read a book. It was beautiful.
That works. When I was working, I would like to ride my bike because again, you're still kind of getting the double thing of it's saving me money and it's making me more healthy.
Exactly.
That's kind of cool.
I love that.
But yeah, you can carpool. Another big one, if you do have a car and you're not planning on getting rid of it anytime soon, is just maintain your vehicle. Yeah. I have it in my phone every 5,000 miles. I do an oil change myself. It's just really important to make sure that you keep your vehicles running smoothly because you take care of them, they're going to take care of you.
Absolutely. And don't buy a lemon. don't buy a lemon, guys. But segment number 4, what we talked about on Monday, is housing. Obviously, the biggest cost
and the scariest one for people.
Definitely the scariest. It's like where you live. It's scary not having a home. It's scary not having a roof over your head.
And it's even scarier to think I already have a home, and now due to buying this home, maybe not making the best or the most wisest financial decision, I'm house poor. All of my money is going to this house, and maybe I have to downsize or look at co-housing or renting out a room. That's terrifying for people, and I definitely understand that. So ideally, we can reach people before they make that decision to not buy how much you can afford, because that's what most people do. What's the maximum amount I can afford? Rather than focusing on that, let's focus on what will bring me joy.
Exactly. Like if you're a single person and you can afford a 4-bedroom house, what do you need? Do you need a 4-bedroom house? Can you get by on a studio and save some money, or a single 2-bedroom home?
Yeah.
Or maybe you want the 4-bedroom so you can rent it out, the other 3 rooms, to your buddies.
And it's okay if you have made those decisions. I mean, look at my house. I mean, we're in my house right now, and I have 2 extra rooms that I don't even go inside.
No,
they're
for the dogs and the cats, but they're beautiful rooms.
Yeah, they're nice, but I mean, so it's okay if you've made those decisions. I've made those decisions, but that's something that's important to me. That when I have a family and whatnot, I have all that ready to go. But if you haven't made that with intention, just think about it. You know, geo arbitrage is a really good one.
I love that word.
It's so cool.
It's such a cool word.
Relocating.
Yes, relocating.
It doesn't sound as cool as geo arbitrage, but that's
I'm geo arbitraging. Excuse me?
That's what I had to do. I mean,
hacking the mainframe, it's
I'm geo arbitraging.
Yeah, no big deal. No big deal.
That's what I had to do. I had to move from San Diego out here to Arizona to create a better life for myself and my wife.
Yeah.
So lower cost of living area. And then I think the final one would be for housing. If all those don't make sense for you, you can't geo arbitrage, you can't downsize, you can't co-house or rent out a room. Look for ways to maybe lower your utility bills by maybe adding in solar. I know for electricity, if you try to run off-peak hours, you're going to reduce your expenses there. You can always shop around for insurance. Honestly, you probably should be shopping around for insurance at least twice a year for both your cars and your housing. And try to bundle them as well if you can, because you're going to get a discount there too. I
also know, I've heard of places where if you can call your electric company or utility companies, you can see if you can get a lower rate.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with trying to negotiate.
You can always negotiate.
Everything is negotiable, And if they tell you no, then you're in the same spot that you were before the call.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
And here's another cool thing that I've recently done, that I do with my credit cards. If you don't get the answer you like, hang up and call back and get a different person, because you might get a different answer. But a lot of that is really being polite and being kind to the person. Because remember, it's not always confrontation. We're trying to be a good steward and a good friend.
Absolutely. And just a quick little note. There's a book by Chris Voss. It's called Never Split the Difference.
I love that book.
Such a good book.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't read it, it's a book on negotiating, and it is so good. He was like the FBI's lead hostage negotiator, where he has to get everything from the deal and give the hostage takers nothing. It's like the highest scale of negotiating.
Yeah.
I need them back safely with their lives unharmed, and they want money or whatever. And you can give them nothing, and you have to take from them everything.
Yep.
It's so good. If you guys haven't read the book, get it on Audible, or he's on Masterclass too.
He's on Master. I watched that. Yeah,
that one was pretty good. I like the Masterclass one. That one's really good.
Yeah, my wife read that book recently. I've read that book actually multiple times, because it's one of those books that every time you're in a different place, you get a little bit more out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a super good book. I really like it.
I use the techniques in that book all the time.
Yeah, me too.
Even on a road trip. I was on a road trip with my dad recently, and I was using the mirroring technique for all the way through South Dakota.
Mirroring is amazing. I really like when you basically kind of shoot yourself, or you make yourself sound worse than you are before you do it. So what I did recently when we were flying, in the book, he talks about going up and making you seem like you're going to be a worse person. So when you make a normal request, the person's like, oh, thank God, he didn't ask for what I thought he was going to ask for.
I know exactly the part in the book where he's like, I'm about to make your day so much worse.
So I did that to a lady at Southwest, because I was late, and I walked up to her, I'm like, I'm going to be the worst person you're meeting today. And she's like, oh God, what is this guy going to ask? I'm like, would you be able to check my bag? I'm under the time limit.
Yeah.
Can you check this bag and make sure it gets on the plane? She's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good. Just anchoring high and you come in low. It's just, it's beautiful. I love that book. We need a book review. We need a book series or something.
We probably should. I've been thinking about doing that for, on Monday, we're gonna drop a new podcast about ways to increase your income. So Chris Voss's book would be really good, but we probably should maybe take some Jocko, some Chris Voss, and then relate them to FI.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then final thing before we move on to our viewer mailbag, on Monday I forgot to talk about our assignment for the week. So our assignment for this week for the FI crash course is add up all of your fixed costs. That means your food, your transportation, your utilities, and then also add in the other fixed costs. Again, your insurance would be a good one. Cell phone bills, things that you cannot live without. Netflix is something that you can live without.
I know what you mean. So could you go just real quick into variable costs? What would that be?
Variable costs are anything that are wants. So again, Netflix,
Starbucks in the morning.
Starbucks in the morning.
Those
Clothes,
new shoes.
those new shoes, clothes that you don't need. Yeah.
Wants.
The wants.
The wants. Okay, gotcha. I know some of you might be like, there's no difference between wants and needs. Trust me, you survived without Netflix and Starbucks. You'll survive. You will be okay. I'm telling you. You will be okay.
And that is why I always say you have to be relentless on adding fixed costs into your life. Because the moment you have Netflix, the moment you have Hulu or whatever it is, saying like, I need you to get rid of that becomes very, very difficult. And the bigger the purchases, the harder it gets. Especially when it comes to like housing, your cars, your food. Telling someone you need you to lower your housing is near impossible. Telling someone you need to sell your car is near impossible. Even telling someone, hey, you shouldn't go out to eat every single night, they will fight that tooth and nail.
Yeah.
So again, add up all of assignment, add up all of your fixed costs. Our goal, and I don't really like prescripting, but our goal is usually to try to be at 50% or less is going to fixed costs. Because then we want ideally 20% or 30% going towards the variable cost, the things that you like to do, your travel, your fun, all that other stuff, and then the other 20 or 30% going to savings.
Yeah, absolutely, honestly. So getting on with the FI Friday feedback, FI cubed.
You want to do that?
FI cubed. It just hit. Before the podcast started, Chris was like, next week we're calling it FI cubed. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know. I don't get it. And then I just like FI Friday feedback. It's a math joke. It's not squared. It's cubed. So...
You didn't get when I said that?
I didn't get it.
Honestly. Oh, you didn't say anything.
I didn't get it.
You got it.
I didn't get it. But now that I got it, I feel like I'm a part of like a special club. It's like, oh, you don't know what FI cubed is?
Well, now our listeners know too.
Yeah, now you know. Welcome to the club, guys.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. We're glad to have you. But getting on to the viewer mailbag. Did I interrupt you right there?
No. I say we get into the viewer mailbag because someone wrote into us asking for some help, and I would love to see. I haven't read this yet, so I would love to see what you.
This one's interesting. This one is very interesting. So I'm gonna read it, and you guys sit back, sit tight. And so Chris,
I'll be taking notes.
Taking notes. Good,
yeah,
perfect. So let's see. Let's get into this. Over $200K in debt, and I need help.
Okay.
I have a significant amount of debt that I've racked up. I keep reading that I should not tap into my 401k, but it seems that it is the only viable option to get me started. Household income, $190,000. That's pretty sizable.
That's really good.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
4 kids, that's also sizable. That's also a lot of kids. Maybe not a lot of kids, but it's a good amount of kids. Necessities, mortgage, utilities, groceries, vehicles, insurance.
Okay.
$5,500. Current debt list. This is where it gets a little interesting. And this is obviously like a no judgment zone. We're here to help. There's no judgment. We all make mistakes.
We all make mistakes. We take ownership of it and we try to work our way out of it. But yeah, definitely no judgment. Everyone comes to FI at different points in their life.
Of course. So getting into the list on the debts, we've got credit cards. $8,000 in credit card, 20%, $10,000 at 0%, 0% on the credit card. How does that work?
So my guess is that it was probably an intro offer. Sometimes credit cards will give you an intro offer, like the first year or 6 months, there will be zero debt, or zero interest. But then after that year or 6 months, then it bumps up to like 26%.
Gotcha. Okay.
So my assumption is this will probably jump up at some point.
Okay.
Maybe they consolidated.
Keeping on with it, $15K at 26%, $20K at 26%, $20K at 26% again, and $23K at 10%, totaling about $96K in credit cards. That's sizable. That's definitely a lot.
Okay.
Almost $100,000. Not done yet though. And let's see, loans $10K at 9%, $45K at 19%, and a $50K at 9%. With the HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, for those that don't know, basically using your house as collateral, as I would assume, right?
Yeah, and so typically you'll get lower interest rates because a credit card, they have high interest rates because they're uncollateralized, meaning that you can go bankrupt and
Yeah. Just
if you walk
wash the
away,
car, yeah.
you walk away. But with a HELOC, you're actually putting the house up as collateral, which gets you a lower interest.
And for those who don't know, collateral is something that you put up. So if you don't pay, they take.
Yeah, they can take a portion of the equity of the home.
Gotcha. Do they often take the whole home, or they just take a portion of the equity, or does it depend case by case?
So it's up. Unfortunately, the majority of the time, if someone's in this situation, they're gonna have to sell the home in order to have the liquidation event to pay off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Interesting.
not good.
Not good. So we got 105 in loans, total 201,000 in debt, but the upside is he's making 190,000. Now, obviously, he's not. He has expenses.
Mm-hmm.
He has 4 kids. He's got utilities, necessities, all that stuff, fixed costs. So it's not like, oh, I can just wash this in a year and 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about this person, this viewer, and how where do they start?
Let's see here. There's still a little bit more that I'm seeing here that they wrote in. So let's continue
okay.
to finish that off so that I can have all the information that I need.
Absolutely. So a lot of this started making this dumb mistake and consolidation. Let's see. Okay.
So a lot of this started by making a dumb mistake in consolidation and then not cutting up my credit cards and using them again. Budgeting has me at putting an additional $400 to $500 towards principal a month. Mm-hmm. I'm in my late 30s now and have $200,000 in one 401k account and another 401k account that I never rolled over that has another $40,000, which I never withdrew, but could to get me started on knocking out this debts. But I will take a 20% hit because he's in his early 30s.
Yeah, and you don't want to pull out money from your 401k that is growing to pay off stuff that is a debt, right?
Yeah.
In this case?
Yeah, so let me just continue to read on with what he said. With as much as it's not advised to withdraw my 401k, I feel like it's my only option at this point. Mm-hmm. I've reached out to set up a DMP. DMP stands for Debt Management Plan based off the context here.
Okay.
And they can get me set to knock out 50% in 4 years. Most importantly, also close the credit cards so I can't use them again.
Yeah, that's important. Okay.
Okay. If I don't withdraw my 401k, it will take, or if I do withdraw my 401k, mm-hmm. it will take out my biggest payment of $1,300 a month, which will give me more to put towards my debt management plan, as well as put me back on track towards saving towards my current 401k. My employer will match 100% up to 5%, which would essentially replenish my whole 401k back to current states in 2 to 3 years. I don't really understand that portion.
I don't understand that part either. That might maybe a typo.
Yeah.
That sounds a little.
It's a little off.
It's a little off.
It's okay.
But let's get back into that information.
And
so
I like this. From a guy in a bind trying not to fall farther behind.
I like that.
We're here for you, man.
We're here for you. I want to get that on a bumper sticker or something. So let's talk a little bit about that. 400 to 500 on the principal each month. 500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. Mm-hmm. On $201,000 in debt. That's going to take a long. Can you even catch? That's a long time. That's not a viable strategy, I would think, right?
So I have a few different things when I hear this case as an advisor for what I would do. So first off, the gentleman said he has $190,000 a year. Mm-hmm. He didn't mention anything about a wife. No. So obviously we don't have all the information that we need, but let's just kind of work through this.
From income for those.
And then remember, I am a fiduciary advisor, but I am not your fiduciary advisor. So this is all for information and educational purposes only. Mm-hmm. So if he's making $190,000 a year, he has 4 kids. So let's assume that he's married for this point.
Mm-hmm. Got to make the kids somehow.
After taxes, given that he's married, filing jointly, assuming that he has no state income tax and he's not taking any deductions, with 4 kids he should be, mm-hmm. He's going to be making around $168,000 after taxes.
Still pretty good. Still really good.
That's really good.
It's what, 10%? 5% of the country?
Yeah.
Doesn't make that?
That's a very small amount.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that kind of I don't understand. He said that his fixed cost is $5,500 a month. Mm-hmm. So that means a year he's spending $66,000 in fixed costs.
Okay.
But he's making $168,000. So where's that other $100,000 going?
Yeah. So it's either not being he might not be giving the right number.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 5,500, what I'm thinking is from being around you and like you teaching me a little bit, the number that we think we're spending is a lot higher than it actually is. Like we're spending more than we think we are.
Yeah.
And you think that's kind of what's happening here?
I do. I think he's either grossly underestimating his fixed costs, or he could be right on his fixed costs, but he is spending very lavishly on discretionary things. You know, $100,000 basically on things a year, and plus more in order for him to get himself into this $200,000 in debt.
Yeah.
So that's certainly something we'd have to look at. But let's just dig into this a little bit deeper. So we have 9 debts. They're all high debts, and they all have high interest rates.
Yes.
Best case, if we're putting $400 to $500 a month and then rolling the extra, it's going to take you a long time. You're really not even eating to the principal. So I would definitely recommend doing either the snowball, the avalanche, or the hybrid approach, which we've talked about in previous podcasts.
And just a quick recap. Do you want to go over that?
Sure. Yeah. So the snowball approach would be we take out for this gentleman, whatever one has the lowest amount. So he has a credit card debt that has $8,000 on there. So we'd want to take that one out first.
Okay.
And then after that, we move on to the $10,000 one, either the credit card or the personal loan.
Gotcha. So from low to high.
Low to high based off of the values of the accounts. The debt avalanche approach would say we take out the one with the highest interest. So that would be these 20,000 credit cards at 26%. We want to take those out first. And then continue to move on to the other credit cards and then move down to this loan that's 45,000 at 19%. I'm not sure what that is either. Or you can do the hybrid approach where you can do a little bit of A and then a little bit of B.
I like the hybrid because it's not like today I'm doing the snowball. It's like, it's not an official document. Like it's just a personal plan, you know? So you could do the hybrid, you could do the snowball, you could do the debt avalanche. You know, it's whatever you feel best. If you like small wins, small wins. If you like taking out the biggest interest rate, bam, take that one out, you know?
Yeah. And then I think the second point that I would say this is we really need a budget for this guy. I would say he needs to basically kill his bad spending habits immediately. And I would probably say there's not even really much of a reason to even do this debt management plan if you don't change the underlying habits.
Exactly.
Because he's going to fall into this again, which it seems like he already has. So we have to do like a detailed review of his budget the past year. I would pull every single bank statement, every credit card statement, everything, and see exactly where you spent money. How did we end up in this situation? If your fixed costs are $66,000, you're making $170,000 after taxes. Where's that extra $100,000 going?
So you'd create a plan for him, basically.
Yeah, you need to create a plan as to where it's going. But if this guy can live off $66,000 and he has $100,000 that he can put towards his debt, you can basically wipe this out in like 2.2 years.
Yeah.
With the interest.
Yeah.
And not have to touch the 401k at all. So
because you really do not want to touch the 401k.
I'll talk about that here in a second. I did some math while you were reading it, but I would also maybe say like what things can we sell that this guy has in order to bring enough more money in. On next podcast, we're going to talk about ways to increase your income. So what ways can we use to increase our income? Can we negotiate for a higher pay? Can we start doing like a gig economy side hustle type thing during this portion of life? At this point, you know, you can do the debt management plan. I really like that this guy has not mentioned at all declaring bankruptcy.
That's good.
So I really
taking ownership.
I like the taking ownership of it.
Because bankruptcy, it's not like, oh, I took bankruptcy, let's start over. Like, no, it stays on your record for a long time.
Yeah, 10 years.
10 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, so I do like that he's trying to take this on his own. But honestly, I would leave the 401k alone because even if we have to go to the last resort, which is bankruptcy, your 401k would still be spared.
Yeah, it's not going to touch that.
It wouldn't be touched that. So just based off what I see right here, and then after that, we're going to go into a 401k, just so I can show you the math on why I wouldn't touch the 401k. If you are correct and your monthly fixed cost is $5,500, I would talk to your spouse. I would talk to the kids and say, hey guys, mom and dad made some mistakes, but we're going to take ownership of it. We're going to fix it. But what that means is we're going to need buy-in from all the kids over the next 2 years to 2.5 years. We're going to really have to buckle down. Mom and dad might have to pick up extra shifts, and we're going to not be able to do all of our fun trips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
until we get this under control. But the good thing is, dude, you have really high income, and that high income can help to take out this debt.
That's the saving grace here.
Yeah, that is the saving grace, is that we can do it. But again, we have to fix the habit. But it seems like right now, based off what I'm seeing, is you know that there's a problem, and you're just looking for the best way to fix it. I hope this debt management plan didn't cost you extra money. Unfortunately, they normally do, because obviously they got to get paid too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely not touch the 401k. And here's the reason why. You said you're in your late 30s. So let's say you're 36, 37, which means you probably have about 30 years of retirement left. $1 compounded over the next 30 years at 8% would be $11. So that means you take your $240,000 that's currently in your 401k over the next 30 years, due to the power of compound interest, will grow to $2.4 million.
Yeah.
Is paying off your debt worth $2.4 million in the future? And we also need to take into account this. You said your income is $190,000. If you take the 240 out, that's going to be added to your highest marginal tax bracket. Given that you're married filing jointly, that'll put you into the 32% tax bracket. Just for quick math, taking the taxes out and the penalty for withdrawing early, your $240,000 would only become $140,000. That's a rough estimation. So you're basically demolish your entire 401k, and you didn't even pay off your debt. We still would have $60,000 that you have to come up with.
Yeah. And I think there's something that you didn't mention that is like super important. Like, if you were to pull out of your 401k, wipe out your debts, start clean, that doesn't change the psychology of it.
Nope.
You can still put yourself back in the same hole, and now you don't have your 401k. Now you're 100, 200k less in your 401k. And it's like you're back to square one, but worse.
Yeah.
You know, I agree with you 100%. Don't touch the 401k, because it's not worth the 2.4 million, like million with the M, million, over time with compounding interest. You know.
Yeah. So again, the best thing for this gentleman to do would be stick to your debt management plan. But if your fixed costs really are $5,500 a month, so $66,000 a year, that's $100,000 extra dollars that you can be putting towards your debt. Are you gonna have to tighten the belt a lot? Yeah, you're definitely gonna tighten the belt, because I don't know where that $100,000 is currently going.
Money doesn't disappear.
It doesn't disappear, so it's going somewhere. Wherever it's going, we're gonna need to divert it to the debt and paying it off of whatever approach that you find to be the best. And that's what makes personal finance personal. You can figure out what's going to be best there. And if you need help, reach out to me. You can always go to chris@monsonwealth.com. Go to Mons on Wealth. You've reached out this way. So yeah, reach out, and I'd be happy to walk you through that, or to be there to kind of coach you through the money psychology portion of it. But yeah, dude, you can definitely get out of this.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially with your income.
100%. You know, and I really appreciate putting the story out there, you know, and letting us use him as an example of, you know, what to do, what not to do, how to operate, you know, and stuff like that. It takes guts to, you know, take ownership of your problem and really say, you know what, I put myself here, but darn it, I'm going to get myself out.
Yep.
And I can respect that.
And I respect that. And I definitely understand, like, saying, I want to, let's just take the 401k out and let's just eliminate these debts. But to me, it doesn't make sense. I don't think it's worth it.
And I don't think it's worth it to him either.
No, I don't think.
Once you put it in perspective of the compounding interest and all that.
Yeah, and we'll see what he ends up deciding to do. Maybe we'll right back in and let us know down the line. But yeah, dude, if you're right on your fixed costs at $5,500 a month, you could be putting a lot of money towards your debt every month.
Yeah,
you know, substantially more actually. Let's see here.
Yeah, that's exciting. Honestly, yeah, like. Fixed costs with that low, with 4 kids, guessing wife, and him. I mean, $5,500 a month is $66,000.
He should be able to put, if he's accurate and he really tightens the belt and he sticks to the 500 and 5,500, he could be putting $8,666 towards the debt every month.
Yeah. So the first month he can knock off a credit card.
Yep.
The first one.
The first month, yeah, knock off one credit card. The second month, you can knock off a second credit card.
But if you were really like strategizing it, getting into the numbers, you shouldn't attack the one with 0%.
No.
That doesn't make sense. When you have ones that are like
26%.
26, wild stuff. You know, it's Yeah.
I would focus on those, on all the ones that are 26s first.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would go to the 19, the 45 personal loan. Then the 8K, the 10K, that 0% interest is probably going to jump at some point. So you're going to have to look at that and say, when is that going to start up?
Absolutely.
But yeah, there's a lot of things here. But you know what you have to do. Again, I would not look at the 401k as much of an option. I would really just try to tighten the belt as much as you can. And bring your family in on this. I think a lot of parents, they try to shield their kids from money problems, but unfortunately when you do that, you end up just creating a money problem for your kid in the future because they never watch their parents have to struggle with these things, because we all struggle with these things. But yeah, I think if you bring it in, make it a family ordeal that we're all going to make it through this. This is the consequences of our actions, but this is how we're going to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, I say we move to win of the week.
I love it. So we've decided to move our win of the week from our regular scheduled podcast on Monday to Friday. It makes more sense because Monday is the first day of the week.
Yeah,
So
there's no time to win.
There's no time to win. We got to get our wins in early. So we, all day we wake up Monday, we're like, oh, we got to get the win in. Hurry. But yes, for the win of the week, do you want to go first? Actually,
No, I always go first. You go first.
Okay, cool. I'm actually really glad about that because Chris's win of the week is better than mine. It's pretty gnarly. I'm very excited about it. What he's about to talk about puts a smile on my face, and my win of the week is talking about food, so that's tough to beat. But
I like food.
I love food. Okay, so for today's win of the week from myself, Dominic James, howdy. Taking advice from last week on budgeting and health, I've started actually meal prepping breakfast and lunch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm very excited for that. You know me, I love chicken, rice, veggies. So I want to be eating that for lunch because I don't need too much variation. I can do the same thing for a long time.
Okay.
No problem, And I recently discovered overnight oats. And my friend Philip, he was telling me how for his shakes in the morning, because he'll work out and stuff, rather than like mixing it up every morning, he puts his entire shake in a mason jar.
Uh-huh.
So in the morning, he just grabs a shake, shakes it up, drinks it. I'm like, oh, that's... Because like it's kind of expensive to buy the pre-made shakes. I do love making the pre-made shakes. But he'll add like a bunch of stuff in it, like chia seed, creatine, some different powders like bee powder and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really excited to get some of that time back. We're talking about an hour in the morning for breakfast. We're talking about an hour for lunch. That's 2 hours. That's 14 hours over a week. That's a lot of time.
Yeah,
it's a lot of time. And from like a health standpoint, because I'm trying to get bigger. I'm trying to get
swole.
Like
I said, you got to come to the gym with me once they open that new one, and jiu-jitsu as well.
Yes, I'm trying to walk indoors sideways. I'm just so massive.
Be like The Rock.
Yeah, exactly. Eating like 48 eggs a morning, but yeah, I'm really excited about that. For me, nutrition has been a problem, not like a major problem. I'm not scarfing down Twinkies every day. And no judgment. I don't care if you do that. It's your life. I don't care. But for me, it's like, sorry, this cracked me up for a second. For me, it's a matter of getting the proper size of meal. You got to eat more to get bigger. And for me, I don't necessarily eat a lot, and I know you don't eat a lot either. You eat like once.
I eat a lot, but I eat once a day.
You eat once a day, yeah.
I eat a lot in that one day.
No, what's it called? Spartan diet? Or?
No, it's called the Warrior Diet.
Warrior Diet.
Because remember you said you're the cobbler warrior?
I'm the cobbler warrior, man. I've been making cobblers all the time. You want to stop by? I got a cobbler for you.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I love it.
Yeah, everyone's a little bit different. Yeah, because I also struggle with weight and weight management. So I find that that works for me.
It's interesting. There's like a synergy. It's like everything we talk about is one thing. And like you were saying earlier, the decision fatigue. Oh, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to have for breakfast. Should I have eggs? Should I have bacon? Should I have beans? Should I have toast? What should I have? Should I just skip breakfast and just be like, it's like, no, it's like I already made breakfast, grab my oatmeal, got my spoon, yum, I'm there.
Yeah. One thing that I really, I've tried to do is I've tried to add bright lights, and where that bright lights come from is when you're on a freeway, you know where the lane lines are because they're bright lights that are they're telling you. So I try to add bright lights into my life by making rules. So rather than saying, like I don't know if I want to eat breakfast or if I want to eat lunch, I just make it part of my identity. I only eat once a day. There is no question about it.
Yeah,
it's something that I've done ever since I was a kid. Especially when I was around. Not in the best of locations where people are like, you want to go drink, you want to do drugs, you want to do this stuff. And it wasn't like, I don't really feel like it. It was, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
And therefore there is no negotiation with them. There's no negotiation with myself. That is not a part of me. I don't do it at all. I don't do that.
I love that. I think Tony Robbins talks about that in one of his books where it's like, you have a smoker. It's like you ask them, it's like, how many days have you stopped smoking? And they'll say, oh, it's been 34 days. And he's like, well, why are you counting?
Yeah.
It's like if someone offered me a cigarette and I've never smoked before, I would say no because it's just not who I am.
Yep.
I don't smoke.
Yes, for me, like I only do desserts usually on the weekends. So if you ask me to eat a dessert Monday through Friday, I just say no, I don't eat dessert on the weekdays, and then it ends the conversation right there.
It's just not who you are.
Nope. It's not something that I do.
Saturday and Sunday, you know where to go.
Put your ass in some compliment.
Anyway, getting on to your win of the week. This one's going to put a smile on my face.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about this one. So we've talked a little bit about the Southwest Companion Pass, just to bring it up again, and maybe we'll do a whole podcast on it.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that.
The Southwest Companion Pass is if you fly with Southwest 100 flights in a given year, or you earn 135,000 points in a given year, you can earn the Southwest Companion Pass, which basically gives you the ability to name a guest that gets to fly with you for free for the entire next year.
That's pretty gnarly.
And you can actually change that person 3 times in a year. So
what?
Yeah.
Let's go. We're going to Cabo. Five guys go to Cabo. Let's go.
We're doing it as a business expense. But this year I got the Southwest Companion Pass for 2023, but we're kind of wondering how we're going to for 2024. So my wife, she actually referred me to a Southwest card, which gave me another 80,000 points, which is going to push me over the 135,000 points that I need. So I'll be getting the Southwest Companion Pass for 2024. In addition, this is the real win of the week, is that my wife referred me, so she got an extra $20,000 or 20,000 points as well. So just based off that one decision, we got 100,000 Southwest points, which is roughly equivalent to like $1,000.
Okay.
Plus, she's gonna fly for free all next year.
Flying can get expensive.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much we have saved.
So much money.
A dumb amount of money.
You wouldn't travel as much.
No.
If you didn't have the Companion Pass.
Nope.
And that's one of like your hacks.
That's my probably the Southwest Companion Pass is probably one of my biggest hacks.
I love it. That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
I love that hack so much. I love that one.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's so cool.
So we get that for 2024, and then next year we have a plan for my wife to get them both again, so that she can get it. And in the future, I will teach you guys how to actually get the Companion Pass for 2 whole years, rather than just getting it for 1 year. There is a way. It's a little difficult, but I'll walk you through all the intricacies in the future.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
Yep.
I'm ready to take off. Let's roll. Good Lord. That's a plane reference, takeoff. You guys didn't catch that corny joke. Anyways, but I think that'll be it for today's.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the first 5 Friday feedback. Please write in. If you guys want to also have your questions featured on the show, you can write into the Fi Guys Video Podcast at gmail.com. Again, that's the Fi Guys Video Podcast at gmail.com. New email coming soon.
Coming soon, yeah.
Coming soonish.
We're thinking about it.
We're thinking about it. Maybe I'll get a Fi Guys domain. We'll see. It all depends on you, the viewers.
Yeah.
But please like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We're always here for you. I hope you guys got some value out of today's Fi Cubed.
Yep. It's catching on, sweeping the nation.
And got to see what an advisor thinks about when someone comes to them with some issues. Obviously, I don't know all the information, so I can only give what I can give.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think it was informational. I think it was entertaining. And I think I had a fun time.
Good. Me too.
I love that. That was good.
So hope you guys have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday again for, I think, episode 6 of the the Fi Crash Course.
Yep.
Does that sound right?
Episode 6 of the Crash Course. Episode 12 of the total podcast. I don't know.
I forget.
That's all right. We're gonna keep her going.
Yep. But on Monday, we're gonna focus on something really, really cool for the podcast and the Fi Crash Course. People's favorite things, ways to increase your income. And with that, I hope you guys have a great weekend.
Later.
Later.